For me, installing stuff on the street was about wanting to make something that was a part of the city. It was about being like, I want to interact directly with this space, I want to consider every element of the space, and I want to make something that creates a composition and creates an experience that you move through. And so that thinking directly translates into here of always considering the building and the architecture part of the work. Well, we basically just needed the largest workspace possible because I needed to pre-prep big parts of the show. So we're already on round 2 of prepping walls. So we prepped the entire time capsule in 2 separate sections. There's a lot of questions that I just wasn't going to really be able to answer from my studio in New York. Like I needed to be kind of getting into pre-production before the show started. How this whole wall is built out of wood, we're gonna take those panels and just transfer them directly onto the walls of the museum. So that whole thing was like pre-prepped pretty literally, and I'm hoping that it will be translated literally by the install crew. This is a pretty difficult way to work because I need to see everything as like one continuous piece to really feel how it all works together, and this is like, you know, working with something where you can only see a section of it at a time. It's like hiding half your drawing from yourself. Very frustrating. I'm playing Exquisite Corpse with myself. Like you want to do every step, but like if you're working on a certain scale, you just can't. So you have to figure out what you can let go of. It's a whole process. I mean, it's amazing. I'm super grateful to be able to like realize a vision at this scale, but because I wouldn't be able to do it by myself. It's just like, it wouldn't happen. Collaboration is quite hard for me, actually. I think that because I do a lot of collaborative projects, people think that I'm a natural collaborator, but I'm totally not. It's very difficult for me. I get very driven by a vision, and it's very hard for me to figure out how to share that and how to interact with people at that level. But doing it, as difficult as that is, it just like interacts with my own creative self on this like incredible level where you just do things you wouldn't do. You're kind of forced into positions you wouldn't put yourself in. And the feeling that people get when they work together is just such a special feeling. And also, you know, I think as a workaholic, you're like, how do you hang out with your friends? You're like, let's work on a project, you know? Installations, I always wanted to feel as though people were now kind of inside my mind. And so this show is like a very perfect space within which to illustrate that. I've always been a really, somebody who had really intense and layered dreams. It was such a big part of my thought process and a big part of my life. I mean, if you're asleep for 8 hours a night and you're like visiting this kind of other world, you know, I think that there's this tendency to want to really honor that as like a part of your life. And so this is an externalized version of my subconscious mind, and now I'm seeing it. It sort of feels like you've translated a part of yourself into these forms, and now you're kind of moving them around, right? And wouldn't we all kind of want to do that within ourselves? To be like, oh, let me put this memory in like a maybe not so big place, and let me, you know what I mean? Kind of like have this agency like over our internal landscape. And it kind of feels like when I put things out into the drawings and into other forms and then work with them, it feels like gaining mastery over parts of yourself that are like, otherwise you're just at the mercy of. And not just mastery in like a dominating sense, but just being able to like work with it and get to know yourself.